and then connect. Hi, and there we are. We are live. Welcome to another one-to-one thing drop-in event. Um, I'm your host, podcaster. I can take that. I can own that title now since I've got 80 plus podcasts under my belt. Um, Also a coach for adults and for children. uh, and very much enjoying the work I do with the kids in the computing space in primary schools. Uh, Very interesting crowd, and tough crowd sometimes, but nonetheless very rewarding. So um, this is my spot. Oh, got a guest in there straight away. Sandra's in the house. Hey, how you doing?
Oh my God. Hold on. I'm on two at once.
Oh, no dog walking.
I'm done.
Oh, oh, you were dog sitting. Let me my
Oh my
you're not
God.
coming through
Hold
my
on. I'm like clicking
you're
all
not
the
coming
wrong
you're
things
not coming
here.
through my headphones. So let me just change that to
Good
the
Lord.
manner. That's why I hear. Is that better?
No, I have like two audio streams of you.
Oh, is it through? Do you have?
Okay. Now I'm only on one.
Hmm, okay. All right. There you go.
I had like the
I don't know what
old
the
stream, the new stream. Oh, wait. What's happening?
okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Good. Technology. Technology.
Oh, that's I'm good now. How are you?
I am well. I am well. I'm tired. I'm energized, but I'm tired. I I pulled a late one. Um, work and play.
Mm,
So I, there's no such thing as a school night for me now. I'm too old to have school
I
nights.
know. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I was banging the box last night at an open mic, the playing cajon.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I
Good
always
for you.
enjoy it. It's my escape, and it's a
Well, you
great
have
way to.
many.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's
It's good.
as as stressful as life can be. You need to have the outlets um, to cover it for sure.
100%.
Oh, I'm gonna let this guest in right away.
Who is it? Carl? It's Carl.
Hi! Your post today or yesterday, whenever it was, Steve, it made me feel very guilty. So,
it 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 wasn't even it you know what, that meetup, we've been doing those. It's Yayoi's group, and
yeah,
we've been doing that sort of fabulous, we call it FFF, the Fabulous Friends, on Friday. And it's kind of strange because it doesn't always drop at a good time for me. It's 2 in the afternoon, no, 3 in the afternoon, I think, in East Coast. So it's eight my time. So I'm either just kind of winding down or heading out to a pub or doing something. But yeah, this week was just special. And it was so international. I mean, two from the States, different parts of the States, one in Europe, another one in me, and two of us in Europe, and then um, one of our friends out in Seoul, Korea. So it's the middle of the night for him, So it was just
okay.
nice. We talked a lot, and we hadn't been on a call together for a while, so it got deep. So it was nice, and that's why the the picture came up, and I just sort of had to send something out. I haven't posted for a long while. I'm going to start posting more. So watch this space, because I think I've got a lot to say.
Well, you need to say it. Hi, Sandra. How are you? Yeah, are you eating breakfast? What time of day is it where you are?
It is. She's San Jose. It's
8:30.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot you were that far behind us. So time-wise, so yeah. it's
In
good to
so
see you
many
both.
ways, Carl.
Well, like I say, it's great to see you both. And I was thinking, because I wrote that comment on your post, Steve, and I was thinking, show up. You've got to show up. You want to kind of maintain your friendships, and I'd just written a comment on someone else's post about all the excuses we make. I think he said, "Oh, I can't afford it," or "I don't have time," or whatever it might be. We always come up with these lame excuses. And I thought, just get on the call. You
Yeah.
can make up the time later. It'd be
Yeah.
great to see you. It's fellowship for all of us. So great to be here.
Oh, good. Richard Sylvester's having problems getting in. He says you can see blocks with people's names, but no video or audio. So, it's the standard response. Try logging out and back in again.
Yeah, or reboot.
It's a strange one. I joined a Riverside community call. It was a webinar. It was actually I watched the replay, but I was really impressed with them. I mean, they upped the game in terms of their video production quality, but the community host was doing something not too dissimilar to this, in terms of she was talking to a person, but she was dealing with all the other feeds coming in.
Oh yes, because live streaming's got better on Riverside, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't know how many heads they take, and I still like this I still like with Restream for the layout, because you can theme it. I can move you around. You see, you're in the space. We're all in the same place. Sandra's top right, and Carl's at the bottom. In Zoom, you never know where people are, which is, I think, is annoying.
And you can't delete when someone overtalks someone else. You haven't got a separate channel for each person on Zoom, and sometimes that can mess up, something that they're saying. Someone butts in and go, or yes, they're agreeing and someone's talking. That's quite a distraction when you're listening back. You do it in conversation, face to face, but with Restream, you can cut that out, and obviously with anything that records it, you can do the same.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, so it's good. I'm still 2 app in. I'm straddling both apps. I'm sure once the renewal comes up, I'm gonna have to pick a side.
Well, you want to try the other one first. Try doing this with Riverside and see how you get on.
Yeah. I think the login process is a little bit trickier, though. I always feels like there's a bit more of a barrier to getting in. Although sometimes Restream can be a bit like that. I like the green room on this layout as well. If you're talking tech for a little bit, the green room. So I saw you come in before I let you in. That green room side is nice. And then just sort of the quick shifts to move things around. It's really nice within one tablet type layout. So it's kind of it does that pretty well.
Yeah, good. Well,
but it's good to see you, Carl. Always.
It's good to see both of you.
Yeah.
It seems so long ago. I can't remember the last time I was on, but it was a long time ago.
So let's go around the room. How are people doing? This is Water Cooler. Paul Deitch is there. on he's in the chat there. So
I'm usually the one on LinkedIn typing in things one-handed as I'm walking. So it's nice to be here in person.
Yeah. So how's it going with you, Sandra? What have you been up to?
Oh, it's going well. I took a road trip to see my college roommate. She had sent me a photo of a footlocker or a steamer trunk, whatever terminology you use, that she'd been keeping since 1985. and
Wow.
all of her moves and everything she's done, she had kept, and I had completely forgotten she had it. So I went up on the auspices of, well, I better go pick that up. And so we went and had a lovely couple of days together. And she still lives where we went to college.
Wow.
So it was very fun to just kind of go and see all the spots. And so we looked at this trunk, and, you know, it was one of these things that my parents gave me when I was a kid and I was going away to camp. And so I needed to have something to put all the stuff in. I was going for 3 weeks and I never really paid attention to it. But this time I wanted to see, like, what are the origins of this thing? Because, you know, 1985, that's a while. It turns out it was the original trunk that my father received when he enlisted in the Air Force in 1957. And it still had the air waybill on the side that said, you know, send it to this base in this location on this date, 1957. So it was kind of cool.
Wow.
It was interesting. So when he was in the Korean War. Oh.
Wow.
Wow. It's
Korean.
got some provenance behind it as well.
It does, a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're selling on eBay for $150. It's my inheritance.
But it's got sentimental value. That's
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah. And so the other interesting thing was I had put on the inside at the time, you know, I'm whatever, 14 years old, I think, when I first started using it. I put these things, pictures inside that I thought were, you know, really descriptive of who I was and who I wanted to be at the time. So it was a little bit time capsule-y of opening it and saying, oh, these were the things that I imagined my life would be like forever. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Richard still is
having trouble, but Paul managed to sneak in there, so that's good. Good to see you, Paul. Can you hear us? He's working out his audio.
Perhaps you should consider switching to Riverside after all, Steve.
Oh, he's on a delay. Oh, Paul, you're in both. Yeah. You need to get out of the LinkedIn one. Because there's like a 10-second delay, 20-second delay between LinkedIn and Restream. That happened.
Hey, Steve.
There you go.
Good to see you all. No, I could hear you. I was just being quiet. I was listening to Sandra finish.
The nostalgia and the nostalgia on the road trip.
Yeah, it was nice. I had to sleep for a day when we got back.
Where did you go?
It's a little town called Chico, which is in the northern Central Valley here, northeast of Sacramento.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went and did all the things that we would normally do. We went on like a 5-mile hike. We went on a 12-mile mountain bike ride. So the next day I couldn't grip anything because I was so sore.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah,
you're
not 20 anymore, evidently.
Yeah, you can either wear out or rust out. So I think it's better to wear. Although I don't know. Sometimes
yeah.
We can wear out pretty quick. So catch us up, Carl.
Yeah, Carl.
Oh wow.
Carl?
Whose business are you busy multiplying?
Well, there's a delay there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Am I on delay on volume, on audio as well?
Yeah, you're out of sync. Your audio's out of sync now.
Not to me.
He'll probably catch up on replay or recorded.
I'll just talk. So yeah, I've been working on quite a few things at the back end of my business accelerator and with clients, looking at what's working and what's not working, refining what I do. And I tell you what, I'm all in with AI right now, working on a couple of apps, and it's all good. Yeah, it's really all good. So watch this space.
Nice. AI. Paul, we'll go around the room here.
Steve, so good to see you and nice to meet Sandra and Carl. I don't think I've seen you guys in the water cooler before, so nice to meet you. And yeah, I was glad to catch this one. I know like for a while I was missing it because for some reason I thought it was like 12:30 and then there was like a time change. So I'm glad I was able to catch this one.
Oh, good.
How have you been?
Well, I've been good. Yeah, I wish the weather was warmer. I'm surprised. I was out last night and I was still in my puffer jacket in June, and I just thought that was so wrong. And it made me question whether I was just a lightweight getting older and feeling the cold more. But no, it was objectively cold. it wasn't subjective. Yeah, coming back to Cali. I think I got the CA of Cambodia and the JA of Jamaica calling me first.
The weather is so interesting. It's so like unpredictable because right now in South Florida we're heading into like summer, but what's weird is like in South Florida summertime is like also hurricane season. So the weather is so unpredictable. I remember like my first year here, I kind of missed the memo of like, oh, don't move to South Florida in like summertime because it's hurricane season. And my first year it rained probably like 3 months like in a row, so it was just like constant rain and storm. And then last year there was like no rain, so it's like the weather here is so bipolar. It's hard to predict what's going to happen, and it's just so interesting. It just reminds me like in many ways, and Steve, I think you and I talked about this. There was a scroll that from Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. He talks about how like we have the ability to create our own weather. And I remember like so many people, when it's like rainy and when it's gloomy, everybody's kind of like down, tired, you don't want to like do anything. And that was kind of my reality my first year here. And I was like, no, I have the ability to change that. So now it's just kind of like, despite what's going on with the weather, just try to operate to my own kind of rhythm and standard versus like, letting the weather kind of affect me. But I think it does to some degree, just because there's certain things that you can do when the weather is, optimal, and things that you can't. Yeah. So just interesting. It's been it's been raining a lot for the past, like, I'd say a few days. So that's why I've had a lot more time to kind of like downtime, I guess, because nobody really wants to go out in this type of weather. So I've just kind of been relaxing and catching up on a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I was glad I was able to catch this one. What's your topic today? Are you kind of just...
We don't have one, but I was just going to say, as you're talking about carrying the weather with you, I may have said it somewhere, probably on this somewhere. There's like a Norwegian, I think it's Norwegian, because they're the happiest people on earth, and they have a saying that says there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. And that is that one's imprinted, because I'm in Lancaster. We get it's very changeable up here, and we're coastal. So I carry mitigating clothing for the weather, because it's just one of those things you just got to do, and it's okay. It's an extra bag. It's an extra layer or some waterproof.
Well, like for me, because I was born and raised in Hawaii, so like I was so used to like 70 to 80 degree weather pretty much like year round. So it's like majority of my family, when I moved to Florida in 2022, they live in Jacksonville. So I go back probably like 3-4 months out of the year to like visit, and I go for the holidays and things like that. And I remember when every time I go back and forth, I always have to ask like, how's the weather? Because here in South Florida, like I don't think I've ever needed like a hoodie, jacket, or any of those things, just because the weather here is like pretty similar to Hawaii weather. I mean, when it's summertime, it gets like, really hot, and this past winter, it's gotten like a lot colder. Well, Florida kind of had like record weather maybe like a couple months ago, where it was like snowing in places where it normally doesn't ever do that. So across the whole state, I feel like it got a lot colder. But when I go to Jacksonville, it's like a completely different place because it's so cold there. I remember when I first went back, it was like springtime, and I went from like 70, 80 degree weather to like the 40s. And I was wearing like, I was so used to wearing like tank top and shorts, like typical like tropical weather. And I walked outside for maybe like a second, and I was like, oh, it's like, we need to change. This is not going to work. So it's been interesting just adapting to the weather, and just like when you go to different parts of the US and even like the world, where I find that when it comes to weather, people don't factor in like the air, because I went to California a few years ago for like summertime, and I thought like, oh, I'm used to the heat. Like Florida, it hits like 90s, 100s, like pretty much like all summer. But the California heat was just different, and I was like, oh,
it's dry.
It's interesting. So that's been kind of an interesting like other variable to navigate when I've been traveling and all these type of things, because you think that it's more than just the degrees. It's about like, I mean, wind factors in, as well as like
chill factor.
Yeah, for sure. And all that has just been kind of interesting to navigate.
So let me I'm gonna it's interesting how people always talk about the weather, because it's something that we all have in common. It's one of those, it's like the universal icebreaker. Where you're from and how's the weather? And just as like you, as you were sharing there, Paul, I was thinking in terms of mitigating against factors that are weather related. We're all in the coaching service industry on this call, and I wanted to sort of put a question to the room in terms of using the metaphor of weather. How do we navigate weather in other areas, whether it's in a business context, in a relationship context. Doesn't have to be personal per se, but just in terms of client relations, business relations, and just leverage thinking about that weather metaphor, like me saying, it's not the weather, it's the clothing. And that, for me, that informs a lot of thinking around what I can do. Someone sent me a post the other day with the cartoon of an umbrella opened, and the rain coming down were all the things that you can't control, and the umbrella forming a list of things that you can control. One, you can carry an umbrella. There's no excuse. No, I should take that back. There probably are some reasons where you could get caught without the right apparel or the right equipment. But if you look out the window and it's raining and you have an umbrella in the corner and you still decide to leave the house without the umbrella. And again, I'm speaking for myself too. I've left my house without an umbrella when I should have carried one. In that metaphor, ill prepared for something, or facing harsher weather than I thought it would be, and getting caught in shorts when I should have been in galoshes and Wellingtons.
Wellies, where's your wellies? I think just what you're saying, preparation. Preparation, but not over preparation, right? So I'm in California, obviously, and this winter it did get quite cold. It was freezing in the mornings and we walk in the morning. And so I really had to say to my head, like, I am the kind of person who loves to walk outside with my dog, whether it's hot, raining, sleeting, or freezing cold. And I had to really just put that in my head. And so, and then another interesting thing is, I remember talking with one of my CEOs as a head of HR, and I was really just whining and complaining, like, what is wrong with all these people? And he kind of grabbed me by the head, not literally, but looked me in the eyes and he said, "You have this job because you like to solve those problems, remember?" I was like, oh yeah. But so I think the combination of those two things, which is, whatever physical or logistical or knowledge that you're carrying as you go into a coaching experience, one-on-one or with a group, that you're prepared mentally and literally with those things for whatever it is you're trying to create as the experience. But then you never know what's going to happen, right? The person might burst into tears. The person might be angry. The person might just sit there silently when you ask a question. And so that attitude that you have towards it is, that has to exist in addition to all of the preparation that you have so that you can flex or adjust or move and meet them where they are. And, always ask the question, what help do you want? Do you just want the answer, or do you, because sometimes people are just like, please just give me 3 ideas so that I can go do something, because I really can't think of anything right now. Well, which idea do you think would be best for you? Yeah, the next thing is your client's going to hang up on you, right?
That's so true.
Anyway, that's my opinion. It's a great question.
Yeah, I think you just have to be open to what the other person is saying. Active listening, we know what that's all about. But I always say you're actively listening to what they're not saying. Because that's where the truth really lies. That's where the problems are. That's what they're not comfortable with sharing. And that can bring out a multitude of things. I was saying something to someone the other day, when I kind of pivoted into marketing, branding, helping coaches to get more clients by doing that. I was quite focused on all that stuff. And my coach said to me, business coach, he said, "Well, Carl, you're not doing anything different, moving away from the agile space and into the marketing space. You're using all your transferable skills that you've always had, but just applying them differently."
It's
but
brilliant.
What I found was, and I found this with the agile folk as well, it was very much about, my work is very much about helping the coaches first overcome their own limiting beliefs before we can dive down into the marketing. Because there's meetings like marketing techniques, what we're going to do, strategy, and it's all people
whatever
stuff.
Carl.
Yeah, it's people stuff, because this is really what holds us all back. And I'm thinking, well, should I be majoring on that and doing less on the marketing? Because if people can't do the marketing until they get over that thing first, and we're all in that space. And I think particularly coaches, because we have an aversion to self-promotion, it's not what we do when we practice our coaching. So why should we suddenly do it because Carl says it's a good idea? And that itself, the coaching thing, that we don't promote ourselves, that's the biggest limiting belief for a coach. You've got to get over that to be able to step out and say, right, this is what I do. I'm good at it, and I can help you, in whatever way it is that you're coaching. So for me, that's been quite a revelation, because it's not a one-off thing; it's a common thread through all of it. So much so that I could kind of put aside all the marketing stuff completely and just focus on helping coaches overcome that, because that's their biggest problem. So, that's.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's the question was poised as almost like the weather outside and how we we deal with it. But what you're touching on is the weather within.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're raining on the inside, it doesn't matter what the outside is doing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. We rain on our own parades without realizing that we're doing it
more
that
than
way.
rain on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say it's just an observation that's really made me stop and think recently. Should I be majoring on something else? Because that's the true problem. The marketing's easy. Once you're over that, it's kind of like a process. You follow it, you do it, it works.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Tony Robbins always talked about, especially at Date with Destiny, more so than the UPW, which is a larger format. The Date with Destiny is a more intimate, 1,000 people.
What's UPW?
Sorry, Unleash the Power Within. That's the big weekend firewalk and board breaking and stuff like that. But he does a lot about those, not quite the 5 whys, but going beneath the surface and looking at the organizing principles. It's very easy for us to get caught up in mimicking somebody, and again, the weather analogy kicks in, and someone, I walk around Lancaster and I'm in 3 layers and a puffer jacket, and I see young folks walking around in a t-shirt, and I see girls walking around in spaghetti hoops, and I just can't. It makes me cold just watching them walk. And I don't know. There's something that says there's an organizing principle that they have that's either a social proof, or it's a fashion statement, or maybe but they're biologically different. They're Lancastrians and I'm not. So.
I remember back in the day, we'd go out pubbing, when I was in my teens, and we'd have what we called the lads. You've always got the lads, haven't you, with all their souped up Cortinas, the cars and everything. And they always had t-shirts on, regardless of the weather. So we'd turn up, with jumpers and coats and stuff, and they were outside. And you know what they did? They used to tense up their muscles to stop themselves from shivering. And that was the definition of being a lad. And I thought, no, I ain't got muscles and I ain't going to shiver because I'm going to keep myself warm. But it's been going on for generations. You look cool in a t-shirt, even in the snow. But it's damn cold if you do it that way.
As somebody puts on a hoodie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But it's interesting. The weather inside.
Just to upset you, it's nice and sunny down south today.
Oh,
south
good.
Yeah, is it where you are?
We've got great. It's great behind glass.
Yeah. Same here. Well, it's about 16 degrees. So
and again, that's another metaphor. It's like the active listening. You talk about active listening, and it's interesting. You brought up it's the spaces.
Yeah,
it's the spaces that tell as much as the words. And looking at weather behind glass is almost like catching just the gist of something without actually opening the door and going out to see if it really is as nice temperature wise, air condition and wind factor. We've got a lot of wind up here. So again, that metaphor kind of works in the sense that don't just look at things behind glass. It behooves us to find the door, open the door, and get a real sense of the temperature.
Well, Sandra said it's about meeting people where they are. You've got to go out there and experience what the environment's like. And, at least we can see the weather out the window, but in our own minds, the biggest liar in our lives is our own subconscious. It's constantly like, well, you say yourself, Sandra, but is your subconscious yourself? Or is it your conscious that is yourself? It's an interesting thing, isn't it? But the subconscious is constantly lying to us. I mean, I wrote about this today on LinkedIn. It's telling us, oh, don't do this because you're not good enough. Or don't do this, you might fall over.
Yeah.
Don't ride a bicycle because you might fall off. It's telling us that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a bloody big liar.
Yeah. Well, somebody said today that I'm so glad hindsight's 2020. Like, actually, hindsight's not 2020 because it's still your subconscious voices. It's still the construct that your subconscious mind has created, and
it's your 2020.
It's such a mind fuck. Excuse me, but it really is.
Okay, to ring the bell, the first one with the potty mouth.
And I said bloody, and I thought that was a bit strong.
Oh,
that's going to be a reel right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the replay. I'm a sailor.
He's
Whatever.
got to edit it now, Sandra. You caused him all this hassle. You're going to have to go back and bleep that.
No, don't edit it. I take full responsibility. It is no reflection of Steve. He does not in any way endorse my language use. I was noodling the other day, yesterday, really, on just like this whole concept of you can't just look at something from behind the glass and expect to understand it, feel it, experience it, because I was thinking through how would I write something clear and crisp about why do you need a coach? And you need a coach because you read something, you try it, you learn something, and now you're a new person, and now you have a new experience, and now there's more nuance to something else. And the analogy I had been using was baseball. You learn how to catch, you learn how to throw, you learn how to hit. So shouldn't you be great? Well, no, because there is an infinite and unending list and type of situation and circumstance that can happen. And it's not until you've experienced enough of those that you could ever even actually coach another person or understand what does the mindset need to be when you're in that scenario. And it's the same thing with, a lot of these online communities. They'll ask a question. One of the questions lately was, how do I approach the confrontation I need to have with my boss about they promised me to give me a promotion into this new role, but they haven't told me when, and I really need to know when. And they want like a paragraph answer to that, right? Like, oh, just go do this. and everything will be fine. And you'll get your promotion, and it'll be a raise bigger than you thought it was. And you'll feel fully equipped and confident when you walk into that new job. If you just do these 3 things, it's like, it's just not that simple. So I think, Carl, to your point earlier of like, it all boils down to, there's just some fundamental things that we have to get right, no matter what the problem is that we're trying to solve, or, the solution we're trying to sell, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, it's like treating life like you're still in high school or college, where you've always had someone, you've had your parents or guardian carer as a young person. And as you go through education, school, high school, college, grad school, you've got these people in your space that you defer to because they're in that role to inform you. And you brought this up in your workshop, Sandra, in terms of just, when you get out into the big wide world, those people, sort of those structures disappear, in a sense.
Right.
And you've got to navigate the way you've got to navigate the way you want to go, and therefore seeking every hero's journey has this model. We love all the best movies. Speak to this. We understand it in the sporting arena. And who was it? It was you could help me. I don't know if it was the guy with the Prosperous Coach. The 2 guys that wrote the Prosperous Coach. And they were
Bob and Steve.
Sorry?
Bob and Steve. Bill and Jim.
One of them is a Stephen, actually. And he was saying that he was talking about, talking to a lamppost. And he was saying to one of his clients, go outside and talk to a lamppost. And it was kind of tongue in cheek, but the idea is that the exercise of expressing something out is cathartic enough for you to actually get a benefit from. And if you can do that to a lamppost, what more what more would you get from actually having somebody working with you alongside that, giving you that feedback, and the experience and stuff. So yeah,
somebody just said that yesterday. If you just take 10 minutes a day, 10 to 15 minutes a day, and just write about whatever trauma it is that you're dealing with or that is still affecting you, and all you do is just write it, just journal it, write it for 15 days or for 15 minutes in a week, you will feel 10,000 times better, just because you got it out.
Yeah.
And I think there's also something about, because he did say don't type it, write it.
Yes. Yes, I'm a big analog.
Yeah.
I do scan stuff. I don't always read what I write, but I always have something to write with. 100%. I was going to say, you thought maybe think of something in terms of the constant, the benefit of journaling. Yes, to Carl's point about the subconscious lying to you. I mean, that's one way to give the subconscious some evidence as to how much it lies. Because you now have something outside of yourself that you can hold up and say, see?
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah. Well,
good. Some coaching nuggets there. That's very nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, it's good. It's good. I've got Mr. Whiskey was on a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
giving me the hat.
He's hysterical
And stuff. I hope his eye is better. I did, and if he's watching the replay, I did catch up some of his posts. I'm trying to be a bit better on liking and tagging stuff. Although it's a rabbit hole that can suck me in for weeks. So
an hour a day.
Set your timer. Do more of it, Steve. Have you not read my recent newsletters, LinkedIn newsletters, on fishing in other people's ponds?
Yes, you paused for a week, didn't you, to do something to cover another topic?
I did. Yes, that was deliberate. That was part of the Zeigarnik effect to kind of keep everyone waiting. But you really want to consider that, because commenting is more important on LinkedIn than actually posting. So if you look, I haven't posted for quite a few months. But I carried on commenting, and gradually, my network's growing. I've got people DMing me all the time, people I haven't met before, but I know where they come from because they were on the same post that I commented on someone else's. So important that you do that. And, just to give you a ratio, you want to put at least 20 comments, maybe 30, but 20 comments on other people's posts to one of your own posts. So comment 20 times, post once. Better if you comment 30 times. But yeah, it's that important on LinkedIn for growing your network. So
until they switch it.
I mean, that's the way it's going at the moment. And all of the people in the know, like Richard van der Blom and co, and that they're all saying the same. Jasmine Alec, you've got to comment. I think he comments 50 posts a day. Yeah, he's really or more, probably more actually. I'm probably under.
It takes a long time.
But he writes about it, and he says this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
So Steve, if you're not motivated to post, just go and start commenting.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But not on people you know, people you don't know in other ponds, because none of those people are going to be your customers. But the people in other ponds might become your customers. So the fish you want to catch.
Yeah. And I'll start giving you different things in your feed then as well, right?
Yes.
It'll get you outside of your own pond.
Yes.
So then you'll start getting into business conversations as opposed to coaching conversations with more coaches.
Absolutely. Yeah. Building meaningful relations. And sometimes you can actually reuse your comments. I do. As a post. Think, that was quite good. What I wrote, that might resonate with someone else. It got a few likes on someone. So I'll take that comment and republish it as a post. So just focus on that, Steve, because you're losing out if you're not doing it. You've got a lot. You all got a lot to share with people, and you deserve the clients So go fishing.
Yeah.
Read my newsletter and go fishing.
Regardless of the weather.
The final one's coming out this
Regardless
week.
of the weather, put on your
Regardless
wellies.
of the weather, yeah.
Get out there.
Actually, fishing's
Yeah.
probably, it's supposed to be quite good in the rain, isn't it? So fishermen tell me. I don't know, because
Depends where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends where you are.
Yeah.
On rivers, it's not so good because the barometric pressure makes the fish dive down deeper, and they kind of hunker down, and they await the end of that until the barometric pressure changes again. Yeah.
Okay.
Weird things.
Yeah.
Why?
There.
Why? Why?
I thought it was sometimes that the disturbance of the water means they're not as aware of you fishing for them.
Maybe I don't know, but I know like for the dog,
sources.
they don't like being out in the rain because the sound of the rain hitting the ground actually goes up into their ears, and it's like really not a fun sound for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to know what Paul does. Paul, what do you do in South Florida? I also want to know what your hat is.
Oh, it's so it has an O for a community that I've been a part of for going on like a little over 2 years, called the Outlier Project. I traveled a lot last year. I went to probably like, I want to say like 6 or 7 events, like 3 different states. Did humanitarian work in Nicaragua, so that was a really fun project. And for me, I primarily work with the 50 plus age demographic and helping them build their profit and presence online. So a lot of like LinkedIn training and strategy, and it's been really, really interesting. I was just listening to the conversation, and there were like so many thoughts that I had, and I think like at the end of the day, when it comes to weather, I think a big problem that I see in the professional training and coaching space is people are focused on other people instead of themselves. When I started doing events or even just like interactions with people, whether it was like a podcast, a coffee chat, like any of these things, I started noticing how when it comes to listening, a lot of people will listen to respond versus understand. So I actually find that in a lot of these conversations, I'm usually on mute for that very reason. A lot of times, like when I hear stuff, I found that for me, like personally, like my pet peeve was always like interrupting, like people interrupting me or whatever it was. But because I spent a lot of time with people who were significantly older, I kind of learned through that experience, because I grew up with my grandparents, that when the older people are like interrupting, it's not like out of rudeness, it's because they're going to forget, you know, what they're trying to say or whatever it was. So that was kind of like an eye opener for me, and a different perspective shift where I was like, oh, and that's when I realized like I see a lot of people doing this as well, where, you know, like you'll hear somebody say something, I would be on events or whatever, just listening in, and they would cut them off. And that's when I started implementing the mute button, where it was so impactful for me, just because I got to listen and actually understand and process what people were saying. And there was a lot of talk about the subconscious, and that's probably like one of the reasons why one of my yearly practices is to actually do the 10 scrolls that are in the Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And I think the biggest way that you can really kind of rewire that is to be conscious and aware in the present, because it's like when you're being in the present, you don't have time to focus on like all the, you know, nonsensical things. And even just like removing expectations was a really kind of powerful thing for me, like just going into conversations, because I feel like so many people go into things like conditionally, where it's like, oh, I'll meet with you, like, you know, if you're like a fit. When I look at like a lot of opportunities and people that I've met over the past like 2 to 3 years, it was kind of just the magic of relationships is like conversations, you know. And I look at like every client, person, opportunity, like whatever you want to use, like it all started with a conversation. And I feel like that's actually the role that's actually the goal, I feel like, on social media, is to just start more conversations where I feel like people are just focused on, getting clients or posting about themselves or whatever it is, but it's really just about starting conversations, and you really get to learn about things from a new perspective, because I feel like so many people are blinded by their perception instead of being illuminated by like someone else's perspective. And a big thing that has allowed me to kind of navigate this like internal weather thing is just being curious, because what's so interesting is I grew up with my grandparents, right? So the two words that I heard all the time were "because I said so" and "this is this is the way they've always done things." And I would always just ask why. Why kind of became like my favorite word for a long time, just because nobody ever asked why. And I think what's so funny is you look at a lot of people who are, whether they're upset or they're going through like all these different things, you ask people like why they're even mad or why do they think or feel that way. And most times like people don't even know the answer to that question. And I feel like that's been really illuminating for me as well. And yeah, it's been really interesting. I know I was I was thinking about this, and Steve, you kind of brought this up, and it's so funny how like, and I think Carl said it earlier about how like I don't think people realize that what they've done in the past kind of leads them to where they're going in the present. I had a client, one of my first clients, who was she's been like a hairstylist for 40 plus years, but now she's like a life transformation, like master recovery coach, has battled through like addiction and a ton of these like incredible things, and she's turned her entire life around. But she kind of was wrapped up in this picture of, but I'm a hairstylist, right? And I remember just telling her, it's like, but what do you do as a hairstylist, right? You're having conversations with people, you're listening to them, you're asking questions, you're interacting, like, and what do you do as a coach? And she's like, oh, so the way that we kind of framed it was like, you've been training 40 years to become a coach. I know when I entered this space, like the professional training and coaching spaces are really I've been in it for probably about a year. Majority of my professional career has been in the finance space, and I feel like one of the reasons why it has such a negative connotation is because you have so many people who are trying to teach things that they haven't done. And even when I look at like mentors and people that I've trained with, I've been privileged to train with elite mentors in business and finance and travel over the past 2-3 years of my 20s. And I feel like one of the things this year, this is the first year that I haven't invested in personal development or mentorship. And I just feel like so many people teach people how to be like them versus encouraging people and getting them to kind of be themselves and unlock their brilliance. And that's been really kind of eye-opening for me this year, is really helping people stand out just by being themselves. Or I feel like so many people are just trying to, oh, this worked for one person and they think that it's going to work for them. But a lot of times you don't know the intricacies of like how people got there. And Steve, you and I talk about this all the time, and like why the name of my show is called Impossible Equals I'm Possible, because it's like social media gives you the I'm possible highlight reel transformation, but people don't often share with you the impossible moments that lead to the I'm possible outcomes. And it's been really, really eye-opening for me in how, like, even just serving a demographic that is so different, like they're 2-3 times my age. People would always ask me like, how can you serve that demographic? And I was just like, I mean, I grew up with my grandparents, so that's the huge disconnect I feel like in professional environments where you have such a huge age gap of like people being like 18, but then people going all the way to being like, in their 70s, 80s, like about to retire, is that you have people trying to understand two different worlds where it's like they haven't lived in it, right? So it's like with the 50 plus age demographic, they have the experience and the expertise to close the door, but they don't have the technical ability with like social media and a lot of these things to kind of get into the door. And that was like the biggest thing that I learned for me, is that, well, I had the experience to, close the door, and I had the story and all these things, but all of that's irrelevant if you can't kind of get into the door. And I think that's really one of the big things for me that I've learned, is that just through building conversations and relationships, that's how you get in the door. Yet so many people want the quick success of it all because that's what you're shown online, and that's kind of part of being an outlier, is doing things differently. We have a saying called "anyone can be ordinary, but we all have the power to choose to be extraordinary." And that's kind of been I look at my life, and Steve, you and I talked about this, I think, when I was on your show, but the one word that kind of sums up my entire life, like people ask, like, who's Paul? And it's like, Paul's an outlier. I think that's kind of the one word that's really stuck with me from an identity perspective. And it all starts internal, right? It's like so many people focus on the outside stuff, the money, the stuff, and all these things. But there was a quote that my mentor said that always stuck with me, and she said, "You won't ever be able to outwork your self-esteem and out-earn your self-worth." And I think that was something that really kind of stuck with me, and it caused me to reframe my idea of winning and like what's worth it, and I've learned that winning is really about becoming, and it's about kind of like who you can be along the way. And I've really just loved the evolution process, not just for myself, but getting to watch like my clients evolve. It's like, it's crazy to think that I have like 70, 80-year-old clients who are like, crushing it online, when just like a couple months ago, they were like, I didn't even know how to make a video, and I think I gained a lot of insight from them. Yet I also have to understand at the same time that, and this is kind of like what I wanted to tie in to your weather conversation, is that everybody's at like kind of a different stage in life. So it's like, just because one person handles the weather one way, you can't expect yourself to do it the same way. And it's like the same thing in business. Like you have to kind of run your own race and look at what aligns with you, because sure, like that's why like it's so interesting to me how people will listen to all these trends and these big influencers and all these things, is that what probably worked for them was in like a different time period. The platform was different, things were different. And as you're navigating kind of this new world, things are different. And you can't expect to do the same things when people are evolving, and you have to kind of be innovative and show up differently. And that's really kind of what you're seeing on LinkedIn. The platform is, you're seeing so much more vulnerability, and people are realizing that it's really about the people behind the profile. And one of the big things that I share with my clients is your profile should kind of be a reflection of who you actually are, not how you want people to see you, because that's kind of where the disconnect is. If you're trying to be something that you're not, because people are telling you like, oh, this is what works, or you need to fit this mold, that's part of the biggest problem why I think a lot of people aren't winning, is it's really hard to be yourself in a world where everybody else is like, do this, do this. Like it's hard to think for yourself. And even most times in conversations, like how many times are we asking ourselves, like, oh, what do I think about this, before we just constantly go and ask somebody who's a quote unquote expert, when really like you're the one that's affected the most by the decisions that you do or don't make. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts.
That's I love your thought about the old people, because we're all old on this call. Well, older than you anyway, Paul.
Speak for yourself, Steve.
It made me think. I had two thoughts, and I'll be succinct. One was that old people have been around. I mean, by virtue of being old, they've been around longer, right? And you can't take that away from them. Whatever their experience was, they are here at that age, and they've gone through stuff. And then the other thing that caught me is that as I was where was I? I was doing something, and I had to stop and sort of be amazed at my phone in terms of what it does. And then, I was talking to someone, and we were talking. Yeah, I was in a pub, and they were talking about his first computer was the ZX Spectrum. I know Carl's gonna like go the ZX, but don't leave me hanging, bro.
Yeah. Spectrum, Atari ST was my big, one.
Yeah, I mean, these were dinosaur machines. You had to use cassette tapes to load programs, and it took you 20 minutes to get a green screen or whatever. And to be alive to see that transition, where my kids never not knew high speed, always on internet. And that's not a dig at anybody, but it's just interesting. I'm thinking now their kids are now going to go through a transition, and I wonder if it would be as amazing. And a centenarian, someone turning 100 this year, right, would have been born 1925, and to see what had gone on in that century of them being alive, and then projecting that out from someone being born 10 years ago, getting into hitting the 20, I don't know, what is it, 2080s, or 2090s. I mean, what that would look like. Every year sounds like a bloody space age, one of the sci-fi dates already. So I have got no idea what rapidity of change people are expecting in the future, having started at this sort of level. And technologies, I don't know if we've got exponential still or geometric still kind of growth, because we are not geometrically growing. I think not that we're the bottleneck. I think we're the voice of reason. We have to be the voice of reason in technology. The wisdom of a 100-year-old is still good wisdom, regardless of ChatGPT.
So why don't we know how the pyramids were built then?
Still don't know.
If anyone does, please put a comment.
Please put a comment in the notes.
Yeah, we think we're so advanced we can go to the moon, yet we still haven't got a clue how they built the pyramids all those thousands of years ago. Shame on us.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if it's shame. It's just it's life is a mystery, and there's got to be there's got to be aspects of life that are just mysterious or wonderful or wondrous.
But we don't learn from our elders, really. All of that knowledge. I mean, think about it. 500 AD, I think the Romans were kind of chucked out from the UK, from Britain, or Britannia, as it was probably called then. And ever since then, until recent times, we've had no damn central heating in our houses. They did. All of their Roman baths were all centrally heated, underground. It's all underfloor heating. But how could that technology have been lost? We went back to living in huts made out of wattle and daub, which is hay and cow dung. You know, but the Romans had all of these things that they built in the UK. It was all lost, and this is the same with the all civilizations. We've lost the knowledge that they had. You know, we don't retain it. We start all over again, don't we?
Yeah, that's why we're the only species. We don't. It's like other animals have other species in their genus. You know, dogs have other dogs, and cats have other cats, but humans only have one. I think because when we evolve, we eradicate the last one, and whether that's in physical sense in terms of dominating them to death, or whether it's in a psychological learning sense where you just dismiss total civilizations without taking anything. That's naive to think that nothing's taken from those ancient civilizations. But to your point, it feels like it's not. We're so busy running towards something that we don't actually stop and pick up the stuff that we left behind, or carry it with us, so we go a little bit slower, so we appreciate where we're going and what we're bringing to where we're going. You know, if you drop everything you've got to run faster to somewhere, when you get there, you've got nothing with you. I mean, you can flip that. So I'm just like, you gotta take off all your clothes, you're running down.
No, I don't know where I have been writing about this stuff. I can't remember now, but it's just the whole loss that we've tolerated of tribal beginnings, right? Where you had elders who taught you the approach, the mindset, the way, what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, a child. And they were so trusted and so revered, and that has virtually disappeared. Certainly in the United States, it has disappeared. I can't, right. And I would say, like, I spent all the time in Nigeria. It's eroding in Nigeria, right? Which is a country that's humongously tribally based. And so the further you get out from the big city centers, of course, the more different it is. But, it's, you lose yourself and your possibilities, like, for all sorts of different reasons. So when you say, why didn't central heating keep going? It's like, well, we certainly technologically have no reason to be driving fossil fuel based cars right now, not electric either, right? Like there is a proven water running motor that got squashed by Chrysler, because who's going to buy that? Nobody's going to buy that. Chrysler has to keep making money, so we're not going to ever let that design see the light of day, right? So there's all these other puppet strings getting pulled that are out of our visibility. But these are just gigantic topics, right? So I just want to say, because I do have to go, but I would like to just say to Paul, I'm going to connect you to somebody named Florence, who runs a site and a service called Start Becoming. I think you guys have a million things to talk about. She's in Miami, so it's probably not close to you, but at least you're in the same state.
I'm pretty close, actually. I'm in Hollywood, so Miami's like 20-30 minutes.
Well, that's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, I'm going to connect the two of you. I think you have a ton of stuff to talk about, and I love the sweet spot that you have found, because you've taken your natural upbringing and what you have of your ability to interact with elders in a way that is effective and fruitful, and then you're helping people. Like, you're a major bridge. I look at you as like you're a bridge between generations, a bridge between technology, and also just the whole thing of helping whoever it is, especially once we're older. I shied away from a possible business because I was scared of how locked people get into their beliefs about themselves and others. And so I'll just I don't know if I can share anything here, but here's what I'll do.
Mm.
So, Carl, this is your fault. I love to blame things on Carl.
Me?
You should be able to share. You should
I'm
have,
just,
right?
if I could put a picture in here.
Yeah.
No, I can't put a picture in there.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to allow people to.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll just.
There should be a share screen button right next to the.
Yeah, there
camera.
is.
Yeah, the thing in the middle. Add to the scene.
Can you see anything?
Oh, there it is. Yes, it's coming up here.
Okay. Yep.
That's your fault, Carl. And it's the book that I'm
Is
going
it?
to be writing. And it's the book that I'm going to be writing.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. When's it going to be ready?
Tuesday. I don't know.
You had me going there. I thought, really?
I knew that question was coming from Carl.
No, and it's very much, Carl, credit to you for the many conversations that we've had. And then to another person who I've been talking with and about my career navigation business. And we got off on a little tangent talking about this other thing. And he's like, I think you're not doing the right thing for your business as your business. Like who you just turned into talking about this stuff. That's where your passion is. And that's where you need to go. It's like, oh, okay. Thanks, Paul.
That's great.
Brilliant.
God,
Brilliant.
you have good
So
words.
pleased
The
for you.
University of
Adversity.
Adversity. Love it.
The great detour. I like that.
Love it. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, I look forward to reading that. I want a signed copy, please. I
okay.
think I can ask for that.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
give you credits in the jacket somewhere.
You don't have to do that. But just a signed copy would be lovely. I'd treasure that.
Someday. It's all my
Yeah.
deepest
Man.
secrets
Well,
to that point.
we
of
passed
you've
the
gotta
bottom of
talk
the
about
hour,
stuff.
so we.
Oh yeah. Whoever's still listening.
You're going to kick us out now, Steve.
I am
You're
going
going to blame me now.
just to keep my replays in the content in a
We
timely
can
manner.
edit out my bad
And
word.
I could, yeah.
And everything around it. We can
And,
edit out the beginning.
There you go. Yeah.
Put it into Riverside and just search for that word, and it will take you straight there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
but this has been beautiful. Sandra, thank you so much. Great to see you as always, Paul, Rockstar, Carl, Cake. We've got to have a cuppa. We've got to have a cuppa.
We've got to have a cake together. Do you know, someone we both know made me a cake yesterday and brought it round. So I was so pleased to have that lovely fruit cake. So I'll post about it. So I won't spoil
Beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, just join the queue, Sandra. Anyone that wants to make me a cake, I'm here. That's it. And I'll share it with Steve, although he eats his with chopsticks. I don't know why. That's another
only
story.
if it's got sugar on the outside, and you've got no eggs or butter in the cake. So
no taste. So make him a no taste cake, and you'll be happy.
No, you don't even go. It's too late to opening up that can of pinto beans.
Yes,
because it's not worms that we open up.
I'll make a cake that will make you believe all of the bad things about American people, which is ice cream sandwiches.
Yep.
Cool Whip, which is fake whipped cream. This is in a layer, right? And then a layer of cut up frozen candy bars with caramel sauce and chocolate sauce. Repeat.
Right. Okay.
And that will just make you realize, like, okay, if all of America is like this, we have a big problem.
That's an American
very
trifle
sweet
right there.
nation. That's all I can say. A sweet nation.
It's diabetes. It's so good. It's so ridiculously good, and it costs like $10. So when you're in a hurry for a potluck, boom,
you knock one of those up.
It has a very offensive name. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Cool. It's like an Eton mess, right? Or I guess not quite an Eton.
They put it in the freezer. Put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's absolutely zero useful calories. None.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need that just to kind of.
Yeah.
make you feel like you're alive.
All right.
That's it.
Steve,
Coming to a town in Cornwall soon. We'll have to meet
Right.
there. Paul.
Brilliant.
Steve, before we go, I have a
Yeah.
question for you. It might open a can of worms, so we might have to pause it. But there's been a lot of controversy in the U.S. on like TikTok over like food between like the U.S. versus the U.K. and like there's a lot of like American like food critics and like influencers and stuff going to the UK to try like some of these prominent things and them just saying that it's like the most awful thing in the world in terms of like the food just being different. And I'm kind of curious for you, like, because you've been both in the US and the UK, what are your thoughts on that like food comparison? Do you prefer like food in the US more than food in the UK?
There's food. It's food. Food is to me. Food is less about where it's from, and more about the quality and the ingredients. There's good. I've had great meals in San Diego. We're border to Mexico, so it's great influence there in terms of that. And then and there's stodgy 0-calorie foods in both places. Portions are bigger in the States, which is not helpful. And the access to low quality, highly convenient food is not helpful. But outside of that, you can find KFC anywhere in the world. You can find a fast food chain, and you can find high end food that's really exciting to the palate. And if you use local produce as well, I mean, we don't eat seasonally. We've gone away from that whole thing.
Yeah, you don't have to anymore.
Yeah, but it's nice to. It's nice to It's nice to feel that. I mean,
I agree, and eating something actually in season is much better for you, right? Because if you're eating a blueberry that's traveled halfway around or all the way around the world, it didn't start out the way it looks when it started. So it has like no more chi. It's like, why even bother eating it? Grow it yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard about this, Paul, because I kind of got off TikTok for a long time, but now I'm seeing the very interesting. It is. It's really interesting.
I think it's a hollow argument. I don't know who's
it's getting views. Tell you what. I thought, Paul, you were going to say the whole thing of like people who are here who have gluten disorders can go anywhere in Europe and eat mounds of bread because it doesn't have the same treatment that we have of flour there, and many, many other things. Just food quality in Europe in general, or the rest of the world in general, is so much better than the US.
Oh yeah, definitely on the food quality. I think like I mean like I'll preface this by saying like I haven't been to the UK, so it's like I don't know from an experience perspective, but like one of the things that I would just hear from a lot of people when they would come to Hawaii, because I've met people like all over the world being in Hawaii, they would always say that the diversity of food that we have in America, there's a lot of stuff that like they can't get in the UK, for example.
True.
Like there's a lot of like really like specific things to certain like cultures, and it's like some of the best food that people have, and they're like there's nowhere to eat that where we're from. So I think that's kind of the way that I was looking at it from that conversation, was just like it seems, and this, like I said, I can only go by like what I've seen and what other people have kind of shared with me, but it seems like a lot of the options in like the UK and Europe are more like I see a lot of like traditional stuff, like things that they're known for, you know, like standard like breakfasts and fish and chips and a lot of these different things. Like, so that was
beans on toast.
Oh yeah, that was like the big controversy was the Steve, you've heard of like Spud Bros, I assume, right? Like the jacket potatoes with like tuna, cheese, and like beans or whatever. Well, I guess like a lot of that was like one of the things, like a lot of these, American influencers and food critics, because it's like this is the biggest thing in the UK on TikTok from like a food realm, and they're trying it, and they said it was like the most awful thing ever. But then like the person was like, well, also like you have to have like some type of cultural awareness, like if they're not used to eating like tuna with beans, and because in the US it's mostly like we eat it on sandwiches and all these other things, like not like on potatoes, and so it's just different. So I think that was kind of the basis of like where the conversation started, and then people just started kind of going down the rabbit hole of like all these different things, and they're like, yeah, we don't have that there. So that's why I was kind of just curious.
Oh, as long as they don't put a tariff on it, it's all good, right?
Good Lord. We better hang up now.
That was my mic drop moment right there. Because if we're too entertaining, I don't know who would pay who anyway. Would me and Carl pay you two, or would you two pay us? I mean, what's up?
We're just
That's an interesting one. Let's not even go there. Yeah, hopefully it'll go away before it gets worse. But there we are.
But thank you so much, Paul. It's great. It's always been a pleasure. Carl, thank you. Sandra,
thank you.
And yeah, this is a weekly thing. Just come in. I make it. Sometimes I'm there by myself. Sometimes the wonderful people show up, and we have a water cooler experience. So whatever the weather, make sure you're dressed for it, inside and out.
Yeah, don't forget.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good to see you, Steve. Nice to meet you.
It's gone backwards. Choppy.
Chubby chop.
Choppy chop. What's that? A candy?
Chapstick. No, it's chapstick.
Oh, chapstick.
Lip balm. Lip balm.
Oh, okay. That looks very foodie.
Huckleberry.
Oh.
It's beeswax, so it just lasts forever.
Oh, there we go.
Great to meet you, Paul. See you again.
Yeah.